welcome. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. In full transparency, I apologize for not having an episode on Saturday. I'll tell you guys what happened. So I was in the middle of recording an episode, And you know on the top of the computer where it says like update ready or update now? And I don't know why I was compelled to click it. And usually when I do click it, I do like remind me tomorrow or in an hour or whatever. For some reason, I felt like clicking it as I was recording. And I accidentally clicked update now. And when it did that, my whole recording stopped halfway. It was just bad. At that point, I was done. Technical difficulties. It was late. So again, I apologize. I apologize for the people that was wondering where was the episode. I apologize. I got y'all. But please do me a favor and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It would definitely mean a lot. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by my birthday, which is in a month. So I appreciate you guys, and please subscribe if you can. Today's episode, we're going to talk about all the stuff that's been happening with the fans, and you know, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Naomi Osaka dropping out of the French Open, or withdrawing, let's say, from the French Open. We're going to talk about a little Russell Westbrook, and you'll understand when I get there. We'll talk about the recent report about Julio Jones maybe going to the Seahawks. We'll talk about Jake Paul fighting Tyron Woodley, and we'll end with some lacrosse. But here's where we'll start. So the biggest news that's been happening is, of course, the fan interactions with the athletes, with the players. Westbrook had a fan throw or drop popcorn on his head. Trae Young was spit on by a player or by an athlete. I'm sorry. Trae Young was spit on by a fan in New York. And recently, a fan in Boston threw a bottle at Kyrie. Hell, just the other night, a fan ran onto the court in Washington. And here's you know, you're getting a lot of think pieces out of it. You're getting a lot of why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Here's the thing. I want to, I guess, hearken to what KD said when he was like, people have been in the house for God knows how, or for a year, for quarantine and everything. And, you know, they've been restless, they've been antsy, and then they just want to get out. And they see that this moment, this opportunity allows them to get out and allows them to, I guess, express themselves. But I will take it a step further. And I'm gonna talk about this a little bit with Naomi Osaka, but as fans, which is short for fanatic, a lot of fans don't understand that just because a person is extremely talented at their craft, is an athlete that make millions upon millions of dollars in the spotlight, I think people forget the aspect that these athletes are also people. And when you look at, let's look at the Kyrie Irving. No, let's look at the Russell Westbrook incident. It was a fan. The fan was upset, I guess, and they poured popcorn on Russell Westbrook's head. Unless you're just wild in the brain, there's no reason why let me say this. I understand that you're looking at a player like it's hard for some people to look at LeBron James and not think, wow, that's LeBron. Wow, let me say this. It's hard for people to think or look at LeBron and not say, dang, like that's LeBron James, man. That's LeBron. That's arguably greatest player ever, blah, blah, blah. But not once do you think, well, you know, that is a person still. You know, that's still LeBron. He still has a family. These fans look at the players. They look at, and they don't look at them as human beings. They look at them as something like higher ups. They look at them as things they can't achieve, things they can't reach. And because of that, I believe they kind of lose humanity towards athletes because they look at the athletes and they think, well, hey, he makes X amount of dollars, he's X amount famous. It doesn't matter what I do, which isn't the case at all. You see, when you look at there should be no reason why a fan. Now, I hear a lot of people saying, now we should just bar fans from, like, we should go back to having no fans in the stands. I don't agree with that, but I will say this. The fans that feel that they can do something, like they can spit on a player, they can throw popcorn on a player or throw a bottle. I would say to that, again, understand that you're not doing this to a team. You're not doing this or you're not doing this to the final score. You're doing this to a person. These are people that once they're done, and a lot of people forget, they're doing their job. You wouldn't expect someone to come down to the McDonald's that you work at and spit on you because they don't like how somebody on the line made a McDouble. They wouldn't. If you work as a telemarketer or whatever, you wouldn't expect someone leaving the telemarketing place. You wouldn't expect someone to pour popcorn on your head because they didn't like what you said on the phone. It's like, again, we forget that because they are athletes, because they're in the limelight, because they play a sport that we love, whether it's football, basketball, anything. We forget that these are not we. Some people forget that these are people. Russell Westbrook is a father. He is a husband. He's a son to somebody. Kyrie Irving is a father, a son to somebody. Trae Young is a son to somebody. And it's like people forget that when we and also people forget that they're doing their job. Now, yes, their job is to play basketball or play football or to play a sport when other people's job might be a long 9 to 5, whatever. But this is their job. And you're dealing with people, man. And it's like, it's at some point, you have to look at it as two things. Now, I think that when we talk about the Westbrook incident, the Trae Young incident, the Kyrie incident, I think that was pure aggression. I think that was just stupid as far as people not really looking or people not really understanding that this is an athlete, this is a person. But the fan that ran on court, and this is, I think, the fear that we're kind of getting to, is that people are now doing this for attention. Because we are in an attention-driven society at this point, with social media, with, hell, all I really heard people talk about was the whole Westbrook incident and stuff like that, and Kyrie incident, which is what I'm talking about now. But people are just doing this for attention at some point. And you're starting to see that the yearning for attention is dehumanizing. Is that even the word? Dehumanizing people. So and I said this before, man. Again, you're dealing with people, and you never know who's having a bad day. Hell, the people that could have done this is having, like, the person that could have that dropped the popcorn on Westbrook, spit on Trae Young, they could have been having a bad day too. But what I will say is this: And I said this on Twitter, and I say this all the time. You're gonna catch if you people that keep doing this, and the whole banning from the arena. I don't I don't understand it because I've been to several basketball games. I've been to several football games. I've been to lacrosse games. I've been to so many sporting events. Hell, I work a lot of sporting events, but I've been to a lot of sporting events as a fan. Not once did they check my ID. Like not once have I had my ID checked. Now, I did go to game 3 of the NBA of the Wizards Philly game, and I still did not get ID checked. Of course, they checked my ticket. They did the whole temperature thing, but they still did not check my ID. So how are you saying that you're going to ban somebody or you can ban somebody, yet and still I don't get my ID checked. They don't check ID. So I don't that whole banning people from the game, they don't do nothing, especially when you kind of, even though I know the experience of being in the arena is different, but you get a lot better commentary. You get a lot more camera angles at home. So sometimes the at home experience is better than the banning. So it's like, or better than being there. So it's like, the whole, oh, you're banned. Like the dude that ran onto the court the other night for Washington. It's like, you're banning for what? Like, it is what it is. Like, if I get my little 10, 15 seconds of fame and you're just going to ban me and I can wait until game 25 to come back because you're going to forget. It's like, what's the point now? Again, I've never been banned, so I don't know. But I also know that I've never had my ID checked. So, I don't know, man. I just feel like the penalty needs to be higher, man. First of all, the dude that spit on Trae Young, that should be press charges. That's assault. Like, I've always been told, you spit on the ground. You don't spit on somebody. If you spit on somebody, you ain't got no respect for them, like, at all. But, like, these should be taken more serious than like, I'm not going to say more seriously. They should be, the punishment should be harsher than it is. Because what is a ban going to do? Like, what is a ban going to do? I remember, I don't know if it's the same, of course, but I remember I got banned when I was younger. I got banned from the mall because what did I do? I had, okay, so when you try on stuff at TJ Maxx and stuff? So I tried on a couple shirts, and I completely forgot that the last shirt I had on, I liked it so much. And I was saying to myself, I'm going to wear this to the counter and pay. Well, I completely forgot to pay, and I just walked out. Security coming out of nowhere, like, it was crazy. I got banned from the mall for a year. I was at the mall maybe 2-3 days later. Nothing. Now, again, I don't know if it's the same, but I do know that a ban ain't going to do nothing if it's not going to be enforced. And not to mention, again, who cares about getting banned from an arena when you can just watch the game on TV? So I just think that, first and foremost, these fans are getting out of hand. But it also goes back, like, you're seeing crime go up. You're seeing racial stuff go up because people are now being able to come outside after being in, hell, look, and this is a bigger thing. Look at the whole mass shooting thing, bro. As soon as they say, all right, you can come out, mass shooting's going crazy in America. It's like people have this built up emotion, and they've had it for a minute, and now that they're able to unleash it to the world, now you're starting to see it. Like, there's no way that a man in their right mind could think that pouring popcorn on Russell Westbrook or spitting on Trae Young or running on a court, like, is the smartest thing to do, especially if you paid money to go to these places. So And it kind of and I'm gonna move forward. It kind of goes to the next part, and that's why I haven't really talked a lot about the person throwing the ball at Kyrie. Now, as we know, and this we're moving on there. As we know, Kyrie used to play for Boston. Um, it didn't go too well. Of course, you remember the whole infamous going in front of the fans and be like, I'll be here, or I'll resign if you'll have me," and then he leaves next, you know. And of course that puts a sour taste in people's mouths. And then, in the playoffs, the Nets is washing the Celtics, and of course the fans are booing Kyrie, and Kyrie steps on the lucky little thing, lucky logo, and a lot of people are saying that's one reason why the fan threw the bottle at Kyrie. UKG came out and said you don't disrespect Lucky, which is the leprechaun. A Big Baby came out and said you don't do that. You can really get hurt doing that. Here's the thing. And it kind of goes back to the whole fan thing. People have an irrational connection to teams. Hell, players have an irrational connection to teams. Let's really sit here and think about. Let's just go with KG first of all. KG had a long stint with the Timberwolves. That didn't work. Went to Boston. He won a championship. Got at the end of the Boston, he started breaking down. They traded him to Brooklyn. Big Baby wins the championship in Boston. Bada bing, bada boom. Gets shipped. I believe he gets shipped to Orlando. The thing is, people have an irrational connection to the team. Hell, even I have an irrational connection. I don't know if you ever realized, but when I talk about Washington, either the football team, the basketball team, I always say we. We made a trade. We did this. That ain't got nothing to do with me. They don't even know I exist. But fans have an irrational connection to teams. They think that these teams are their teams. They think that these teams care about them. These players think these teams care about them. Now, it'd be different if it was like a Steph, if it was like a LeBron or something. But even still, do you think if Steph Curry wasn't hitting all them threes and bringing all the revenue in for Golden State, you think that they'd care if they look at Monte Ellis? Monte Ellis was a staple in Golden State. Steph is better than Monte, yes, but Steph makes more or brings in more money for the organization. They get him out of there. They get Monte out of there. It's like, for people to say and to justify the fan throwing the bottle at Kyrie because he stepped on a logo. And again, I'm not saying that Kyrie should have stepped on the logo. I mean, you do it's a logo. Not to mention people running up and down the court all the time. Do you think about it? People are upset that Kyrie at the end of the game went and stepped on the logo, but they don't care that you running up and down the court stepping on the logo the entire game. But because he did it at the end of the game, after, by the way, beating Boston by like 50,000 points, now that's the problem. So when KG comes back and says, "Hey man, you don't do that, man. You don't step on Lucky like that, man. Why is nobody gonna talk about Kyrie disrespecting the logo?" Bruh, the Celtics traded you. You think they care about you? They do not. These teams, basketball, football, soccer, look, these teams do not care about you if you do not help them. If you do not bring revenue, bring anything to the table. The Celtics traded you. Big Baby. Hey man, you don't do that, bro. You don't step on a logo. You don't do that, man. That's disrespectful. The Celtics traded you. To a rival at the time, which I think he got traded to the Orlando Magic. It's like, for people saying that it was justified for homie to throw the ball at Kyrie because he stepped on a logo, or people saying that Kyrie Kyrie should watch his back because he stepped on the logo. It's crazy because the logo, you wake up every day and the logo ain't paying your bills. Look, I'm a Washington fan, but I know, I mean, they make moves. They ain't got nothing to do with me. They don't know I exist. Yes, I may have an irrational, and fans have an irrational connection to a team. When I talk about Washington, I say, we did this, we did that. But at the end of the day, I'm not over here. If hell, Washington's Washington's about to lose in the first round. I'm not about to then look up where Bradley Beal lives and say, why did you do this to us? Like, nigga, what? Or I'm not going to go to the game and see Joel Embiid, who probably just put 40 on our head, and throw a freaking Coke ball at him. You're like, man, it's people want to say that it's not. And it's kind of a thin line because people want to throw racism in there, right? I honestly don't think that it's racism. And I'll say this. I think it's talent level. I don't think it's racism. Because I heard people wouldn't do this to JJ Redick. People wouldn't do this to I don't know, a white player. Let me say this. I think there is a small percentage of racism in it, but I also think it's talent level. I think they're doing this to the most, like, they wouldn't do this. They wouldn't throw a bottle at Tyler Johnson, and no disrespect to Tyler Johnson, but Tyler Johnson is not as good as Kyrie. Never have been, never will be. So you don't get the same effect that you would if it was a Kyrie, if it was a Curry, if it was a Russell Westbrook, if it was a Trae Young. Like, you wouldn't get the same effect. I do think that there is racism as far as you're looking at these black athletes dominate a sport. And if you look at all the people this happened to, they've either been Caucasian or close to Caucasian. But I think it's just talent level, man. Because you wouldn't do this to the 12th person on the bench. You're doing this to someone that it makes a statement. You think that if now of course they'd care because they're still players, but you think that it would be as mainstream if someone dumped popcorn on Ro Neto? Now, again, I know they're all players and stuff, and I'm not saying it's like it would be cool if you did it to. You shouldn't do this to anyone. Players, non-players, athletes, non-athletes. You shouldn't disrespect someone like that. What I'm saying is, I think it's envy. People are envious that they can't do what Russell Westbrook does. They can't do what Kyrie does. They can't do what Trae Young does. Not to mention the fact that these players are killing your team. Trae Young was destroying and has been destroying the Nets. The Knicks, this entire series. Russell Westbrook, even though he's had some crazy games, and we'll talk about in a second, Russell Westbrook he's damn near averaging a triple-double again in the playoffs. Kyrie is getting 39s and 40-point games on your favorite team. I think it's envy, man. It's envy for the fact that you look at Kyrie and say, I can't do that. And that envy turns into anger. It's envy that you're looking at Westbrook saying, damn, he's 6'3", yet he's dunking on people and doing all this, and you can't do it. So, man, and hey, KG, bruh, and all the people are saying, not just KG and Big Baby, but all the people that are saying that it's justified that a fan threw a projectile at Kyrie Irving because he stepped on a logo and left a team, by the way. Yet and still, a team will trade you. Look at DeMar DeRozan came out and said he loves everything about Toronto. He loves Toronto. He never wants to leave Toronto. Toronto is his second home. They traded his ass out there. They traded him quick as hell when they saw that Kawhi Leonard was available. Hell, Monte Ellis was a staple in Golden State. They traded him as soon as Steph Curry got on the scene and Klay Thompson got on the scene and realized, oh, they can't really coexist. Like, you think these organizations really care about you? Yet and still, you're going to throw a projectile for an organization? You're going to throw a projectile at a player? Now imagine, and this is the thing that I think is the craziest. Imagine if, in fact, let's take a look at Malice in the Palace. A fan threw a whole thing of popcorn and soda at Ron Artest. Ron Artest beat the brakes off of him. And of course, we know the madness that ensued and everything. But they suspended Ron Artest the entire season, I believe. That's money taken out of his pocket because he was retaliating for something that someone did to him. But I'm almost sure they said that player gets banned, or that fan gets banned from the Pistons, like the Piston. I put money that fan can go into, if he's still alive, Lord willing. I put money that fan can go into a game right now. But Ron Artest ain't getting that money back that he was suspended for. Steven Jackson got suspended. Like, you're going to get the right one, bro. You're going to get the right one. You're going to get the right one. And when you do, just understand that this was, this was asked for. Because you're playing with people. These are people that you're playing with. And a lot of those, most of the times, almost every time, them people ain't playing with you. That's all I'm going to say. Let's move forward, man. So like I said, the NBA playoffs are going on, and I'm not going to talk about every series right now. I'm just going to talk about things that I've seen. We might talk about every series, but just things I've seen. First and foremost, I'm really enjoying the matchup between Donovan Mitchell and John Morant. I did an episode maybe a week or two ago about who's next up. After the current stars, the Currys, the Kyries, the Durants, LeBrons, once they get a little older and start retiring, who's going to be the next stars? And John Morant, I believe, was on my list. And we're starting to see John Morant. I mean, he had a 47-point game the other night. Like, John Morant is looking good, man. And Donovan Mitchell, and I said this, Donovan Mitchell, he's showing you why he's the MVP for Utah. Utah looked bad, like offensively bad, the first game, and that's the one that they lost. Now they lost three. I mean, they've won 3 straight, and they look like the dominant team that is the number 1 overall seed for a reason. So, I'm just liking what I'm seeing now. I don't know if this is. Here's the thing. I'm hearing a lot of people saying that that Memphis is just a couple years away. Like, they just need some time to develop and everything. And that could be the case. But I look at Memphis, and there's a lot of good with Memphis. They have good, Dylan Brooks is a scrappy, good defender. They have Grayson Allen, who's come out and shooting. Jaren Jackson, who's a good young piece. And, of course, John Morant, Valanciunas. Like, they have some really good pieces. The problem that I see with Memphis is, do they have enough scoring? Yes, you have John Morant, but John Morant can't really shoot. He can slash. He can do what he can do. Dylan Brooks, he's on and off. Grayson Allen, he's a bench player. Like, and not only do they have enough shooting, I think they have enough grit. They can defend. It's just, do they have enough scoring to win a championship? And I think that's what we'll see over the years. But I don't think that's why I think. Well, first of all, one reason why I think that they're down 3-1 against Utah is Utah's just the deeper team and better team. But, we're starting to see the lows, the scoring lows. Now, a lot of that is due to Utah's defense. But, yeah, man, this has been an exciting series, bro. Another exciting series has been Clippers and Dallas. Man, before last Friday, it was looking pretty over for for the Clippers. Man, Kawhi Leonard, while he was playing good, Paul George playing good, nobody else was. They weren't defending Luka. Luka was going crazy, and now Luka has like a nerve thing going on, and I hope that that gets better. And the series is tied 2-2. That's a good series, man. That is a good series, and what we're seeing in the series, this series is kind of the same thing we're seeing in the Washington and Philly series, is that one of your best players, Luka and Ben Simmons, is a liability when it comes to the free throw line. I mean, Ben Simmons right now, I think he's shooting 25% from the free throw line. I think Luka's shooting 40%. Now, these are players that not only have the ball in their hand a lot, but these are star play or your star players. Now I know you have Joel Embiid for Philly, but they're not winning with just Joel Embiid. If they do, hell, Ben Simmons missing those free throws, a lot of those free throws, cost them the game. I mean, it was close, and then of course they did the hack of Ben Simmons, and it cost them the game. So I I'm not, this is not taking away from the greatness of Ben Simmons and Luka, but I do think that if you don't want your free throws to affect winning, and it affected winning for Ben Simmons. And this is, let's stay on Ben Simmons for a second. Ben Simmons is an incredible player. And we've talked about this before, but it has to be talked about right now. Ben Simmons is an incredible player. Ben Simmons is 6'10", 6'11", point guard pretty much. His defense, I mean, he's in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. He could win it. Who knows? But here's the thing that I don't like about Ben Simmons, or I'm not gonna say I don't like, because it doesn't matter what I like or do like. This is the problem that I see with Ben Simmons is, let's say you have a car and the car runs smoothly, but that check engine light has been on for a minute. And then when you go get it checked, they say, "Hey man, you got a couple parts that need to change, bro." But you don't address it at all. But you get new paint, you get new rims, you get a new stereo system, you get new windshield wipers, you get everything new, but you do not address those parts. The thing still goes, and it's a beautiful car, but you have not addressed those parts, and those parts are holding the car from being perfect. Ben Simmons has not been able to shoot since LSU. Since LSU, Ben Simmons has not been able to shoot. And now he is 3 or 4 years? Of course, he did miss a year with injury, but 3 or 4 years in, maybe 5, and still can't shoot. And that's the thing. The example that I heard the other day was LeBron James. You remember when LeBron James played the Mavericks when he was with the Heat, and he could not post up to save his life. That was one of LeBron James's weaknesses. He couldn't post up, and he really couldn't shoot the three, at all. If you were going to stop the Heat, if you were going to stop LeBron James, make him shoot a three and make him post up. And that's one big reason why Dallas won against the Heat, because they exploited LeBron James's weakness. What happened the next year? The next year, LeBron came back, one of the best post players in the league. And I'm not saying he was a sniper from three, but he had a reliable three-point shooter. He was a reliable three-point shooter. You know that he went in the lab and addressed what he needed to address. I'm not seeing that with Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons, if he had a shot, he would be He would be a top 5 player in the league, in my opinion. 6'11", probably like he would be a better Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think he's a little he has a better hand than Giannis. He's a little more crafty than Giannis. I think he has a little more touch around now. You know, Giannis will destroy the rim, but he has a little better touch around the rim. And then you just work on your shot. He would be a better Giannis, in my opinion. But he just hasn't done it. And it doesn't look like he cares about doing it, honestly. Like, it just doesn't. Like, and I say it doesn't look like he cares because, like, it hasn't improved. Period. So, I don't know, man. It just, at some point, and we saw it the other night against Washington, that lack of shooting will get in your way. And I'm not saying that Washington's going to come back from 3-1 and win. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is when you go down the line, there's a reason why Philly, not a lot of people are, outside of Philly fans are saying that they win a championship. It's because they struggle with good teams, because good teams understand wall up, make Ben Simmons shoot, make Joel Embiid shoot. Now, I know Joel Embiid can shoot better than Ben Simmons, even though Ben Simmons has the ball more than Joel Embiid. It just, I just don't understand, especially when your livelihood is your skill. You know what I mean? That's why LeBron James, Russell Wilson, they put millions upon millions of dollars to their body because their body is ultimately their check. You're only as, like, if your body starts breaking down, I'm not gonna say the check's out coming, but your career starts getting a little shaky. That's why they put so much money in their body. Hell, look at Cam Newton. There's people right now that will argue up and down that Mac Jones is better than Cam Newton right now because of the injury, because of what we saw, because of the shoulder. Like, his body's breaking down, but you're seeing that Cam Newton is starting to change his eating habits, change his lifestyle, and he's being a little more healthier. Hell, he didn't have an injury last year. It was COVID. He's making the necessary changes to be a better player. I don't see that with Ben Simmons. Yeah, Ben Simmons he's improved his defense a little bit, but your biggest flaw is not shooting the ball, or you haven't been able to shoot the ball, and that has not improved. So I don't know, man. I don't know. But with that series, I mean, Washington, I felt they were going to win a game. Now, it's unfortunate that, and I guess this is where we'll go, and we'll connect it with the Phoenix and Lakers. Injuries can sway. If you look at majority of all, let me say, the last 6. If you look at the last 6 NBA championships, they've been affected by injury. The bubble, Gordon Dragic was out. I'm not saying that the Heat would have won, but Gordon Dragic was out. That affected. Golden State and Toronto. KD went out. Clay went out. Steph was injured one game or 2 games. DeMarcus Cousins went out. Like, the year, well, that really was an injury. That was, let's go. You can go back to 2016 when the Heat, the Cavaliers came back from 3-1. Draymond Green was suspended. Bogut went out. Andre Iguodala got hurt. And you look at the year Golden State won 2015. Kyrie Irving was out. Kevin Love was out. It's like injuries really do play a part in basketball in general, but especially in the playoffs. And not only is it a race, of course, and a push to the NBA Finals, but it's who is the most healthiest team. That definitely plays a part. And when you look at it, Joel Embiid going out and Anthony Davis going out, those are huge injuries. Now, we'll have to see, what happens with Joel Embiid. I don't know if it's serious or not. We'll see. But Anthony Davis, here's the reason why I think that this is a. Now, do I think that the Lakers could still win a championship? Yes. Without Anthony Davis? No. And here's why. They built this team around two players, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And quiet as it's kept, ain't no quiet. Anthony Davis has had a problem with staying healthy. You know, it could be one of those situations where he's so tall. You know a lot of big men, especially, hell, look at Yao Ming, look at Shaq towards the end of his career. A lot of big men have a lot of lower extremity problems. It's just how it is. I guess, hell, look at Dwight Howard in his back. Like, I'll just say that the Lakers are built around Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And they're not built they're built around both of them. They're not built around one. And when I say that, if one of them is out, I'm not saying they can't win. I'm not saying that they can't even beat the Phoenix Suns in a series. I'm not saying that. But it's built. They're built to have both of them on the floor or both of them on the team healthy. And that, when you look at the pieces, THT, Alex Caruso, Montrezl Harrell, who can't get any minutes against Phoenix, Marc Gasol, who's been a liability, at least defensively, against DeAndre Ayton, Andre Drummond, who he's been really good, even though he's been turning the ball over like crazy, and DeAndre Ayton's been killing him too. Like, they have pieces. It's just their pieces are not built as standalone columns. They're built as support with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And quiet as it's kept, LeBron James dealing with a high ankle sprain or, recovering from a high ankle sprain, 18th, 19th year in the league. He's not built. I'm not going to say he can't be your best player and win, because, I don't think that's true. But for this team, for the Lakers, he cannot be your best player and win without Anthony Davis because of the team around him. There's no, he's not LeBron James. He's still going to go down as arguably one of the greatest players ever, but not even being 100% healthy, he's not good enough to elevate the game to a championship, elevate Alex Caruso's game to a championship level. He's not good enough to elevate KCP's game to a championship level. He's not good enough at this state of his career. He's not good enough to elevate Kyle Kuzma to championship level. Hell, now people probably say, well, Jalen, they just did it last year. Okay. In the bubble, I don't know if you remember those first two series, but the first two series, Anthony Davis was the best. In fact, the first few series, Anthony Davis was the best player on the floor. Hell, there was an argument as to who should be the finals MVP between Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Now, it wasn't until LeBron James went crazy, I think, game 3 and 4, where it was like, okay, yes, it's LeBron. But yeah, there was, because Anthony Davis was the best player on the floor for most of the playoffs. Because LeBron James, and he knows it. LeBron James knows he's not, I'm not saying he's not good, but LeBron James knows, at least with this group, his greatness is not good enough to elevate them to championship status without Anthony Davis. So when we look at injuries, man, Anthony Davis, that injury is huge for the Lakers. Joel Embiid, of course, we'll see how, but that injury is huge for Philly. Now, again, I'm not saying that if Joel Embiid's out, Philly won't win another game, because you still have Ben Simmons, you still have Tobias Harris, you still have Danny Green. But don't be surprised if Joel Embiid does not play. Do not be surprised if Washington at least wins another game. because it's one thing I was watching. I was at game 3. Joel Embiid was destroying Alex Lynn, uh, Gafford, Robin Lopez. He was anybody that you put in front of Joel Embiid, he was cooking. Because that's Joel Embiid. I mean, he's an MVP candidate. You know what I mean? But that injury is taking a huge effect on, or could take a huge effect on that series. The Luka injury, with the nerve in his neck, that could take a huge effect because while it hasn't really affected his shooting, I'm just gonna cape and say that it's affected his free throw, even though his free throw has been god awful. But it's just going back to Phoenix and the Lakers, man. Even with LeBron alone can he can beat Phoenix. LeBron alone can beat Phoenix. Not saying that Phoenix ain't good. They can lose to Phoenix as well, but when you look at some of the other teams, I don't think LeBron by himself, if Anthony Davis has to miss extended amount of time, I don't think he's good enough to beat Utah. I don't think he's good enough to beat the Clippers. I don't think he's good enough to beat Dallas. I don't think he's good enough to beat Portland. I don't think he's good enough to beat Denver. So injuries is crazy, man. Injuries are crazy. But the playoffs are still going on. I'm still excited to see what comes of it. So let's move forward. Now, another debate I've been getting into is Russell Westbrook. I've sat here a couple episodes, praised Russell Westbrook, and rightfully so. Russell Westbrook is the triple-double king. He's doing something that probably we'll never see again, especially at a player his height. But the question, and I find it fascinating. Of course, we know Scott Brooks came and said that Russell Westbrook's a top 5 point guard ever. I vehemently disagree. But the question that we have now is he a top 5 point guard in the league today? And this is why I think he's such an enigma. He's such a hard person to evaluate, because if you look at just the stats, oh hell, I mean, he's averaging a triple-double. Like, yes, he's a top 5. If you look at just the stats, yes, he's a top 5 player in the league. I mean, there's nobody else averaging a triple-double. The next closest is what, what's his name? Jokic or James Harden or something. But that's just the stats. With Westbrook, you have to look at the everything. You have to look at, his impact. Like the other night. Westbrook, they won the game. He had like 19, 25, and like 16 or something. But he shot 3 for 20 from the field. And a lot of those shots was pretty bad shots. And he has a lot of those games. Like you look at now understand. Well, no, you look at, even though, I understand maybe the first year when you have KD leaves and you don't really have much. You have Victor Oladipo and stuff, and you lose the first round, but you've played with Paul George, you've played with Melo, you've played with James Harden, and you have not made it to a Western Conference Finals. You're playing with Bradley Beal, and you haven't made to a Western. I mean, you're about to get bounced out the first round again. Now, I understand a lot of it's not his fault, but again, when you're talking about Westbrook, you have to look deeper. It's not just stats. Which brings me to what I'm about to talk about. The question is, Scott Brooks said he's not a top point guard, not a top 5. Scott Brooks said he's a top 5 point guard of all time. Clearly, I disagree. But the question is he a top 5 point guard now? And it's hard for me to let me say this. When you look at if you just look at stats, of course, he's a top 5 player in the league. If you look at just stats. But if you look at intangibles, let me say this. If you're in a rec center, right? You're in a rec center. You know what Russell Westbrook reminds me of? Russell Westbrook and people that play pickup a lot, you know who you'll understand. You'll feel me. Pickup, there's always that guy. Like, you're about to run fives, you're about to run fours, threes, whatever. There's always that guy that's incredibly athletic. That's incredibly like high energy. He'll dunk on you. He'll his layups, his wrist is above the rim. Like, he's just uber athletic, and he gets a lot of rebounds. He hustles. He is like, you want that energy. You want that player. High athletic, everything. But then you're going to 13, and the score is 10-9. And that dude takes a couple crazy shots. Like, oh, whoa. You haven't made a jump shot all game, but you're taking fadeaway threes? Or he'll do something crazy and try to lay it when he should have dunked, and he misses, and then he'll just look around like, yo, you end up losing the game. You look like, bro, all this high energy, and you're athletic, but your decision making is not good at all, and you can't shoot. But he can jump out the gym, and he has high energy. So it goes back to this. Is he a top 5 point guard now? I say no. I can't put him over Chris Paul, even though, athletically and he's better. I can't put him above Chris Paul. I can't put him above Luka Doncic. I can't put him above Dame. I can't put him above James Harden. And of course, I can't put him above Curry. It's really hard for me to put him above Kyrie. And that it really makes you question, and it really makes me question how Westbrook's going to be remembered. Because again, there's going to be kids 30, 40, 50 years down the road that's going to look at Westbrook, and you're going to look at the numbers like, golly, he averaged triple-double how many years? And he was how tall? And that is an all-timer, man. And yeah, Westbrook's an all-timer, but you're not gonna see the games where, while he had 19, 25, and 16, he shot 3 for 20. Or he had a 50 point game, 13 rebounds and 20 assists, but the team lost because he took the worst fadeaway shot ever. Again, man, and this is it sounds like a slight. Yeah, I can't really dress it up. It sounds like a slight. I ain't gonna hold you. But it's just real. Westbrook, it's really, what lens do you look Westbrook at? Like, how do you look at Westbrook? Because it's just tough, man. It's just tough because you know how great of a player he is, but you also know it's not his athleticism, it's not his drive that's holding him back. It's his decision making and his lack of shooting, especially in a league where shooting is king at this point. I mean, I was at game 3, like I said, and Dwight Howard pre-game was shooting threes. Dwight Howard, who was unquestionably one of the most dominant big men, especially when he was in Orlando. Who couldn't shoot to save his life, by the way, was shooting threes. When when you have small forwards and power forwards have a better field goal or free field goal percentage than you know. So yeah, to me he's not top five, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Westbrook is still a great player. And it does, I do question how he's going to be remembered. Hell, Allen Iverson is my favorite player ever. Allen Iverson is the reason why I really got into watching sports. Hell, I have an Allen Iverson tattoo on my arm. But, and of course, in a lot of people's eyes, in my eyes, he can never do no wrong. That's Allen Iverson. But when you take off the fan glasses, Allen Iverson wasn't the easiest teammate to be with, especially towards the end of his career. He wasn't, due to his size, he wasn't the best. In fact, he wasn't a good on-ball defender. He had a high turnover rate, and he wasn't the best shooter. He can score, but he wasn't the best shooter. So, yeah, man. Shouts out to Westbrook, man. Shouts out to Washington. We have to get the game tonight, man. So shouts out. Let's move forward. So we started at the top of the show with the fans and them going crazy and stuff. And we're gonna move on to Naomi Osaka. Well, first she came out and said that she's not gonna do any more media. She's due to the fact that, or press, due to the fact that her mental health it doesn't really help her mentally, mentally, and she feels mentally drained when she does it, and she doesn't feel like a lot of the media members have her mental health. She doesn't really feel like they care too much about her mental health. Of course, she got a lot of backlash from it. You hear a lot of people, this is your obligation. You make all this money, which goes back to the fact that people are looking at athletes as just athletes, not people, which is funny because last month wasn't it like mental health month? And people, you're an athlete, you make this much money, this is what you signed up for. I heard people saying it's crazy how you have mental health issues, but you're making millions upon millions like that. I heard a lot of backlash. And in the French Open, they fined her, and they said they will continue to fine her, and the penalties can go even up to getting pretty much kicked out or cut from French Open, no matter like your ranking or whatever. So then she comes out and says she's withdrawing from the French Open. Which, here's the thing. I understand. I guess you can say I'm part of the media. I have this podcast thing, but I guess you can say I'm part of the media. So I understand as far as the media is trying to get a story. They get their money, they get their viewership, they get everything off of content. So I understand that. But you really have to look at, and I really have to put the onus on the leagues, NBA, NFL, PGA, tennis. What do you expect to get from a player that just lost 5 minutes ago? You think that they're going to be in the greatest and grandest of moods to talk to you if they just lost? And maybe you push back maybe you can push it back a couple of hours. Maybe you can push media availability to the next day where they have time to process. But what do you think you're going to get from an athlete? Especially an athlete that trained as hard as they train. A lot of them, especially when you look at like the Olympics, they train their whole life for an event and they lose. What do you expect to get from that athlete? You expect to get a thought-provoking, well-established answer? Especially 5 minutes? Hell, what do you expect to get from a winner? 5 minutes after they won. Like, you think you're going to get a thought-provoking, what do you expect to get? That's one thing, and I understand, and I am completely with Naomi Osaka. A lot of people put money, and I understand, when you grow up not having money, hell, I grew up not having money, so I can't really. Hell, I ain't got no money now, but I can't really understand the feeling of having millions upon millions of dollars. But a lot of people put money over mental health, over physical health, over uh, personal priorities. And people expect athletes to do that. It goes back to the whole popcorn bottles thing. They expect athletes to put their personal issues, personal stuff aside for the entertainment of them, for the love of the sport. And I don't question at all if Naomi Osaka loves tennis. I do applaud her for saying that. Even though I love tennis, tennis is not important than my mental health. Hell, she was willing to get fined every event not to do that because she understands. And a lot of people today are understanding. A lot of athletes today are understanding that, yeah, money is good. We need money, of course, but it's like you need your mental health more. And she's taking a stand, and I applaud her for that. And it goes back to what's important. Like, again, I'm not saying that take away media coverage. I mean, that's those millions upon millions of jobs. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the leagues have to find a better way for media availability. And I understand that athletes are even if you like for instance, if you make media availability for the next day, I understand athletes still aren't going to want to do it, but I bet you're going to get better answers than you get if an athlete just lost 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. I put money you're going to get a more thought-provoking answer from an athlete that just won. You'll get it a better answer the next day than you would they won 5 minutes ago. And the part where she said that she doesn't feel that a lot of the media doesn't care about their mental health, their well-being. They don't. The media does not care about your mental health at all. They care that they get the story. They care that they get what they get because what they get is their livelihood. So, it just doesn't. Congratulations and shout out to Naomi Osaka for taking time and really putting her mental health above a sport, above money. She's still gonna make a lot of money. But thank you for putting mental health above everything. Even if that means ruffling up the waters or disturbing the peace. Thank you for doing it for the athlete that maybe is a little more hesitant in doing it. So, and I hope that she says she's gonna step away from the game. I hope that she gets what she needs to get. I hope that she understands that I hope that she's able to get her mental health right. That's the most important thing. Because money's good, money's important, but what good is money when your health physically and mentally is wrecked and destroyed and you're miserable. So and on top of that, it's affecting the thing that you love the most or the thing that you've worked your hardest to do, and that's this craft you love. Like if podcasting, hell, I don't make no money off this at all. But if podcasting started really affecting my mental health, I would quit this joint in a heartbeat. I put a lot of money, time, sweat, equity. I put a lot into this. But if this joint started affecting my mental health, yeah, it's over with. And I don't make no money off it. But I love doing this. I love coming to you guys 2 times a week and talking about sports. But even if I had millions upon millions of fans, if this joint right here started affecting me mentally, it's over with. So I understand. And I commend her for making that decision to step away. Hell, she probably was gonna win the French Open. So I just hope that she finds what she needs to find, and she gets the mental health together. So shouts out to her. Let's move forward. So we talked about the other day or last week. We talked about Julio Jones. Pretty much, the Falcons wanting to trade him, and I gave five perfect destinations for him. And a report came out saying that the Seattle Seahawks are trying or are trying to get Julio Jones. And I say this all the time, but you can look at this from two coins. You can look at it from one coin, or you can look at it from two sides of the coin. One side is great move. You have Julio Jones, you have DK Metcalf, you have Tyler Lockett. This pretty much makes your offense your receiving core unstoppable. Hell, you can just throw it up and someone's gonna catch it. And it really gives that certified number one for Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson with Julio and Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, that'd be something different. But on the flip side and on the other side, the reason why I don't know if it'll be good is because what are you giving up? You gave up a fortune to get Jamal Adams. And while that helps, you still have a trash defense, and I say this all the time with Seattle for some reason, but your offensive line is still horrible. So while you have Julio, what are you giving up? How many more draft picks do you have to give up? Because you gave up a fortune for Jamal Adams, and you still have to find a way to extend him. So what are you really giving up for Julio Jones? Not to mention, I think Julio Jones would be a better fit, I don't know, for the Packers or for New England or for Baltimore. But, and I understand it's Julio. Like, Julio would be good anywhere. But it's just like, for the Seattle side, how much do you have to give up? Because, you ain't got a lot of number ones. You ain't got a lot of first round picks. I think the next first round pick they got is like 3 years because of Jamal Adams trade, maybe 2 or 3 years. And I don't think that the Falcons are going to want to trade arguably the best wide receiver in the league for a pick that they're not going to see for the next 2 to 3 years. So I don't know, man. I think it'll be fun, but I just think if you're gonna continue to make trades, Seattle, you still need to help and get more protection for Russell Wilson. You still need to address the defensive line. So hell, you might want to sign KJ Wright back. Like, he's still unsigned. Like, you let Griffin go, so I don't know, man. I like it'll be fun to see. But I just don't think it's needed. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that Julio in Seattle would be a good fit because of how much you're giving up. And when you give up so much, you won't be able to really address other positions that you need to address. So while Russell Wilson will have a whole bunch of passing yards, a whole bunch of touchdowns, he'll probably still be sacked as much because the offensive line is still garbage. So, yeah, man. Let's move forward. Oh, man. All right, so Jake Paul, it has been official that Jake Paul will be fighting UFC fighter Tyron Woodley for a Showtime event boxing. I don't understand. I do understand. I understand why UFC fighters are doing this. I understand why. I don't remember his name, but homeboy that fought Jake Paul, Nate Robinson. I understand why people are doing this because this is probably the biggest paycheck that they would have ever gotten. Hell, Tyron Woodley even said that this fight is his biggest paycheck he's ever gotten. But UFC is not boxing, bro. Hell, the last UFC fighter should have told you that. Like UFC fight, it's a different technique. It's a different mindset. It's a different way to approach the fight, bruh. Like, I'm not saying Tyron Woodley is gonna lose. He could. He probably will. I'm not saying Jake Paul's freaking Floyd, but what I'm saying is boxing is not UFC. And last time I checked, hasn't Tyron Woodley like had some tough stretches recently of losing? Like, oh man, I understand that it's Showtime. I understand that it's box office. I understand this, that, and the third, but UFC is not boxing. And if you continue to get UFC fighters to fight Jake Paul or any boxer, that is an advantage on the boxer. If they're boxing, that is an advantage on the boxer. And there's a difference between a boxing UFC fighter. There's either UFC fighters that like to be, boxing and fighting, and then there's UFC fighters like the ground. It's completely different. It's different technique, different angles. Like, and hell, I don't know. I'm not no UFC fighter. I'm not no boxer, but I can see there's a clear difference between boxing and UFC. And I don't know, man. I mean, hey, congratulations to Tyron Woodley. Congratulations to Jake Paul securing the fight. Biggest bag, Tyron Woodley, that you ever received. Congratulations. Hey, man, shouts out to you. Boxing is not UFC. And you know what's worse? Boxers and UFC fighters know this. Do you think this is novice? Like, they know boxing is not UFC. How you can 3-on-3 basketball is not 5-on-5 basketball. Half court basketball is not full court basketball. Water polo is not swimming. Or no. Water polo is not swimming relay races. Shot put is not track running. Like, congratulations to them. Congratulations to them. And lastly, man, I just want to say congratulations and shouts out to Boston College in Virginia for winning the college, or Boston College women and Virginia men for winning the Lacrosse championship. It's funny, man, and I put this on Twitter, but God's funny, man. I work in sports as far as, media, camera, stuff like that. And I remember watching the football national championship and thinking to myself, I prayed that I really want to work a national championship one day. And who would have thought? I would never have thought that it would be lacrosse, but I worked the Boston College lacrosse, and it was a great experience, man. Shouts out to those ladies. They beat Syracuse and Virginia. They won in a nail biter against Maryland. Maryland, that's like 5 seconds left. He shot it. I think he hit like the bar. It was close. It was a nail biter. They both won. But yeah, congratulations to Boston College and congratulations to Virginia Lacrosse for winning the national championship. Definitely well deserved for the ladies and both the men. Definitely well deserved. And there you have it, man. That has been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I appreciate you guys for supporting. Appreciate you guys for listening. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by my birthday. So it would definitely mean a lot. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, long sleeve, sweater, hoodie, joggers, they don't have shorts. Unfortunately, they don't have shorts. But if you want Unpopular Podcast merch, the link is in the description below. It's starting to get a little hot, as you can clearly see. I'm whipping out my Unpopular. I'm putting the sweaters away. I'm whipping out the Unpopular Podcast shirts now. Go get you one. It definitely would mean a lot. And yeah, man, I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And until next time, much love.